Hi guys, welcome to the podcast today. Today we're going to be talking about the impacts that we hope to leave on legacy and leadership. I hope you guys enjoy this one. This is a little bit more of a tougher one because you're talking about either leaving the company or dying, or what you're going to do to leave it with your kids, and or some other employee options too. So big differences in opinion sometimes, big ways to differently do things sometimes. What are you going to do in your company? How are you going to be seen in your legacy of your company and your leadership also? And how's that going to leave you guys in the long run? It's a real question, and start thinking about it sooner than later because you never know when it's going to happen. Anyways, thanks for joining us.
Welcome to the Raise Up Mindset podcast with your hosts, Charlie and Athena Grimm.
Well, you know, when I think of legacy, the Raise Up core values are really my legacy.
Yeah.
How can I teach others why they're so important? Because they not only, you're treating yourself well, but you're also treating humanity well. And it's this bigger, it's not even just humanity, it's all of creation. There is this idea of, it's not just about the humans, it's about how do we treat everything that we come into contact with. And so when you bring that into a culture that is like our company is our group that we have influence over, and others feel that, it's like they notice something. They notice there's like some sort of heart in that, and it makes a difference. And it definitely made a difference in that contract with those team members.
Well, and I think across the board, I think I was probably one of the slower ones to come to light on that. I remember you were just saying, we have to have this culture, we have to have this. I'm like, they need to show up and just go to work. I was that iron fist person on that because I truly believe that we were paying them a good wage, we were doing things, and we were trying to make things happen, give them nice vehicles. But on the other hand, there had to be some kind of accountability that these people did the job that they were supposed to be. But my wife definitely had more of a vision of that. And I remember Tracy Reamer talking about this a long time ago in our 2020 group and saying, hey, culture is everything. You got to let me run culture. And I thought, geez, man, you guys are wasting more time on culture than you guys are on really what's getting done there. But I think the opposite way now. I think there's a lot of what the culture brings to the table is how people come to the table. If there's no culture, no things, you're going to kind of have like it's going to be a free-for-all. But when you have scheduled dinners and times and everything's coming in courses and they get it, they're expecting to see this, and this, and they're okay with that. You just have to show them a new way. So
I think it brings some stability that others don't have. Like
Sure.
You can feel floating when you don't know what you stand for.
Yeah. And I can see why some other companies have huger turnovers on some of it because of the culture. Because if you come from somewhere that has culture, then you go somewhere that has no culture, you definitely see the times. And if you come from somebody that has no culture, then you go to a company that does have culture, they feel like they're part of it. I remember seeing some people that, we had an employee's car that was stolen, and we jumped through all these hoops to try to help them find it, and we found the car and did all that stuff, and he felt so much gratitude that people wanted to help him find his vehicle and get this stuff, and it had nothing to do with work related. It was just, we were.
It was the people that he worked with that were doing it. That was the work connection.
That was the connection there, and he just felt so much more closer to the team because everybody came in his defense and his aid when it meant the most to him. So.
It reminds me of, we had another team member who had like a fire at his house.
Oh, I remember that.
Years ago.
Or flood. You mean the flood?
Was it a flood? I thought it was a fire. Oh yeah, but maybe
Talking
it was.
about
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It was a flood at his house.
And team members showed up with trailers and were
trailers, clothes, pumps, vacuum pumps, sucking up water, doing all this stuff, and he had no idea. He couldn't believe that we just showed up at his house, but we saw that he really was stressed and there was problems, and we had some extra people, so we just made it happen. And then we found another person to let him dry out all of his clothes and all the other stuff and somewhere they could keep it for a month or two until they got their flood taken care of. But I think that's, I kind of bred that way. I hear somebody's in trouble or something happens, and then we just go over and try to help if we can. I believe in my in my lifetime, there was a lot of people that did that for me too. So I think it's a good pass along. I mean, like if you've never been in trouble and you never had anybody else help you in a sense that you've been taken care of all your life and you never needed to have anybody, then all of a sudden when you do need it, it's a pretty important thing to you. I mean, it's people broke down or we pull over for accidents to make sure people medically are okay. It's because we have the knowledge and training to be able to help them and intervene in something. And not everybody has that.
You know, it also brings me back to what you just said about if they've never had to have that because they've always been taken care of, then there's this, you know, I think you might even talk about the younger generation where they're so taken care of that it doesn't occur to them to do this behavior or to take care of that thing because they've never had to do it before. They don't even know what it looks like. And it's like, but once there's an awareness that comes, it's a completely different understanding. And I think that's where we fall in some of these like generational gaps is they've never had to do that. We had a friend who said that his wife was kind of a slob, and then at the end of it, it was like they realized she's always had a housekeeper her entire upbringing. She's never had to put any of her stuff away. And she's and she was like, it's not that I'm not willing to do it, it's just, it never even occurred to me that it's like I didn't even see it. And of course, she really didn't see it because he was going behind her and like taking care of all of her stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like thinking about this differently, where it's not a personal offense against you. It's other people have a different idea around what they're doing and what's important to them as a legacy. And it's remarkable to think that. I mean, as a leader, I think oftentimes in this higher scope or 7 layers past what maybe someone else might be thinking of, and it's not because they don't want to do that. It's their capacity at the time based on their background, their heritage, the traditions that were in their upbringing. And there's no reason to get judgmental about it. It's just, how do you keep blowing the horn for what it is your message is here? And I would say at the end of it, teaching people about Raise Up is going to make their life better. It's going to make their community better. If they decide to follow the principles around it, it's going to change the world in their little piece of the world. And it matters to me as, and there's other people that have different messages. Nike, just do it. Like they're doing their own piece. And we all have that somewhere within us that you could say, oh, well, my legacy is to make sure that I have this much revenue set aside for my children. But really, when you think about what it is that you want to leave your mark on, and how soon do you want to start that? Do you want to wait until you're 60 and almost retired to start that mission? Or are you getting some clarity around it now?
You know, this kind of reminds me of the story of John Hall, and I'll say John Hall's tours. John Hall Sr. has just passed away this last week, and Joe and his brother John and his sister are running the company, and they are the legacy family that has done this, and they have stuff in Minnesota, they have stuff in Alaska, and great family, great tours, great group. We've worked with them. They've stored some stuff with us before, and we've helped them out through some. We've helped each other out. They're great partners, great people, and their dad basically all the way until this last year really helped run the company and gave his advice on what was going on, and he's done some great tours. They're doing tours outside of Alaska and Minnesota. They're doing other countries now, and they gave a great legacy to his 2 sons and his daughter that wanted to, Elizabeth, and everybody else that wanted to run it. They took it by the hand and kind of did it, and you hear the comments in the Facebook posts of like, what a legacy you've left to your kids and family and everything like that. And, he really loved and enjoyed what he did, and he did it until he died. And, and that was him. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed friends and people and everything else like that. But, he really, John Hall Tours does a great job. They really stand out. And the CDD and everybody else, that are big pioneers in this industry for so long. And now us being part of that pioneer registrations of companies that are, in that same group, it's really interesting to see how some of these people have really done, and some of these companies that have been around for so long that have done it, that, they have their family members to take it on and do some other things. It's really kind of cool. I'm not sure how many of our kids really want to run the company for us down when they're there. They all would like us to give it to them, but do they want to run it? And it's okay. It's okay that they don't want to. It's okay. We wish that we had somebody that really wanted to, because
our grandson wants a shot at it. I said, We'll see, man. We'll see.
We'll see if we want to be in it that long.
Yeah.
That's a whole other 20 years before he's going to be able to run it. But what does that look like? And have you set your people up for it? And do they really want that? That's some of the other questions you have to ask. Is their legacy something totally different? Or are they just doing it for you? Because if they're doing it for you, they're never gonna really do it as much as you wanted them to.
Well, the heart's not going to be there. And that's where the culture comes in, the culture here is part of my heart. And it's something that I can talk about without missing a beat, because it's just coming, it's connected to me. And when you meet others who connect with the message, it becomes part of their heart too. And it's like a beacon that goes out. And that's why it's so important to have people that are aligned with us in that message. Because we happen to be getting people from point A to point B, but really this message of connection point between the partners, the team members, the vendors that we use is actually what we're doing. We're creating our own world within our space.
And I think if you don't understand what we're saying, is like, I always look at it this way. It's like, you have your go-to restaurant you love. Like, they got that food and they got that one dish that you love, and you'll go there for a million times.
And there's no question what you're going to order.
And it's always going to be the same thing every time you go there.
Not doing it this time. You're like, no.
But then you say, oh, hey, you know what? I'm going to go try something else. I'm going to go give this person a whirl. And then you get there and your expectations are not the same, and you've had this taste in your mouth and you want that kind of service, and you know that you're going to get that bread and you're going to get that butter and you're going to get that stuff. I look at that as the same way. It's like, there's 1,000 restaurants in Anchorage. There's probably 20 transportation companies in Anchorage. Who are they going to pick? Well, what is going to make them pick you than somebody else?
Yeah.
Do they have that connection with the owner? Do they know the owner? Do they know the people in it? What does that look like? And it's no different than you picking a hotel that you want to stay at. You can stay at the Holiday Inn Express. You can stay at the Sammer Vault Inn downtown on Spenard. That's probably going to guarantee to get you bed bugs. Or you can stay at the Captain Cook, the Marriott, the Hilton, the Sheraton, the Captain Cook, any of the newer hotels that you're going to get the service that you're looking for and pay a little bit more. But the service has to match the price. If you have a high price and a low service, you're not going to probably see that person again. There was a restaurant that we went to forever here that was good, and I had my own golden coin there, and we had our own table and all this other stuff, and it was just amazing, and it changed hands 5 different times.
The menu didn't change, but the service
some of the menu
did.
changed. The service did too, and the managers. And it was, when we walked in there, Joe was on point. He greeted your table. He brought something over. He talked to you. You talked to him. Whatever you needed, he was going to take care of, and it was what we were looking for. We didn't care really what our price was, because we knew that we were being taken care of and the food was good.
It was already a more pricier restaurant, and we expected that. And so when we were going there, we were expecting to pay that. Yeah. But we were also expecting that level of service as well.
Exactly. And I think that they look at that as your company too. It's like, if you're putting a Burger King employee into a high-end restaurant, you're probably not going to get the same service as you were as you're going to Burger King.
Without getting some serious training and culture behind that team member. And then as time goes by, you're going to realize if they're actually aligned with the culture and the training that you're giving them, or if they just need to go back to Burger King. And I'm not saying that Burger King has got a bad training program. Don't get me wrong. It's the difference between a value menu and a higher end menu, if that makes sense.
You can't compare Burger King to Simon's or to Sullivan's or to any of your fine restaurants. I mean, it's just not the same deal. One's going to get you your food in 4 or 5 minutes. You're going to go right up the drive-through long, and you're going to sit on the toilet when you get home for a little while because it wasn't such great food.
Yeah, well, that's
Taco Bell.
That is
that's
not
TV.
Taco Bell. There's a certain restaurant in Arizona that I will not eat at that you're like, why aren't you going to have that? And I'm like, because.
But again, you can't have champagne tasted on a beer budget either. I mean, you can't expect the best and then not have any money to spend for it either. So there's just so many different things and layers of the corporation and the job that are so different for different people. Who's your client? What are you looking for? What's your client? Our client is not usually our Burger King client.
No, and honestly, we're not Burger King clients either. And so one of the pieces when you're thinking about what is the impact that I want to leave here when I decide I'm getting out of my industry or I'm leaving this organization, or what do I want my kids to remember me for if I'm a parent? It's like you need to think about it now, because it becomes your life's work at the end of it. It's not something that you just you wrap up in the last 10 years of your life. It becomes who you are when you decide. And if you are deciding right now that you're allowing all of these outside influences to come in and kind of run you, then that's a decision also. You're deciding not to participate. I think one of our industry comrades had mentioned, you have a culture, you just might not be driving it. They will decide for themselves what the culture is.
I don't know who that is.
You know who it is, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But
I do believe that. I do believe that you can have part of that, and you can be lost in knowing what the culture is in your company, or what the culture might be turning into because you don't have your own culture there. You can have people running amok in there and having a muck culture, and you think everything's running fine because your leadership team is running this thing, but on the backside, your drivers, chauffeurs, whatever else is going on is running amok on some other things, and it's running okay, but can it be running better? And where are your efficiencies and where are your deficits? Where can you be better at this and where can you be worse? I mean, there's worse is always easy to come by. It's holding that A. It's holding that A all the time. That means you can't get a B or a C because it drops your A down quite a bit. What's the best service we can survive and have it there? Things always come up. I mean, we own a short-term rental business, and we had some things come up very recently because we had very cold temperatures coming up in our region, and the whole state's having problems with the cold. I mean, we've had an extreme cold this year that was in the 30 belows that we're usually not used to. So stuff has been freezing up. So we've had extra problems and things, but it's just not us. But it's how you deal with it. Like the client was inconvenienced. How can we make that person better? They pointed out that there were some inconvenient times that happened. In 3 or 4 hours, they couldn't use the toilet because the water was frozen. Well, we ended up getting a team up there on a Saturday night fixing everything. And within 4 hours later, they were back up and going. Now, in our side, we're thinking that we went above and beyond to get this service going on for them. But on their side, they were inconvenienced for 4 hours for something that probably should have never happened. But they don't realize that Alaska has been in a deep freeze here for the last 5 months, and the whole ground's frozen everywhere else. So it's not their problem. It's not ours, but we have to make it right.
Well, and that's a level of where we take responsibility for that.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter who's right and who's wrong. It's do I see you, basically. And yes, you were inconvenienced, that's true, and I would like to lighten that for you. If that'll make you feel better, then and it's a reasonable request, then how can we say yes?
Yes.
So, and I think
it's easy to say no.
Showing up, we have a podcast that we talk about how you show up as a leader. And if you haven't seen that, then it touches on a lot of these points about just how we show up for our team, how we show up for ourselves, and to definitely check that out.
Is that season 1?
Season 2.
Oh, it was season 2, okay. Well, season 1 was 50 episodes. We're already in season 2, and it's almost half that.
Yes.
So it's some of your subjects are a little bit tougher, but there's been a lot of things
There's
that we've
been a
talked about.
lot of things that we've talked about. And so I would say probably at the end of this, decide what it is that you stand for. Decide one of the things that I have for myself is I know that I want to be grounded. I want to be in a place of presence, and I want to be in agreement with myself. Well, I have to decide what those agreements are with myself. And a very simple one that I came up with a very long time ago was I don't watch movies that have disqualifying titles. That is an agreement I have with myself. And the reason for that is I don't like to see certain things. Like, I know it exists, but I don't want to live in it. And so what are some agreements that maybe you have with yourself that you didn't even realize that is affecting your culture, that is speaking to your legacy without you even realizing that it is? And how can you step into more congruency? Because I feel like that's what's really builds safety, is when people can enter into that feedback loop with you in a real way when they feel safe to. And if they know that you're not going to be this person over here for this person and this person over here for this person, it's kind of like you telling me that story of how your dad would be like mad at you and then he'd answer the phone and he'd be like, hello.
Split personality.
And it was like, how do you
I think every parent's been that way, though.
How do you not be the split personality, though? How do you bring more congruency into your life so that people know what to expect and they know what that you stand for, and they can count on you to deliver in your industry because they know how you are? Like, we have lots of people that we connect with that we know that if they knew this is actually what was going down, they would make it right no matter what. And it's just a matter of connecting with them. And we aspire to always be those people for everyone else also.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of some instances that we did the right thing because somebody told us we did something wrong and it wasn't there, and then we're like, oh, okay, we're going to make it right, and then we make it right, and then feel like it wasn't wrong, and then we brought it to their attention, and they're like, well, we didn't ask you to do that. You asked us to make it right. You asked us to take care of the customer because they were upset, but it turns out that it wasn't something for us at all, and we made it right, but we did it by throwing all these extras in. How do we recoup that? Because we took it upon you of your word saying that this was wrong, and we wanted to make it right. But again, when you look at those things, that we established that wasn't a good partner. We realized that they were not a good partner into assuming that we were just it, and then they went ahead and had us jump through these extra hoops and didn't do it. And the customer was super happy about the whole entire thing, and they don't realize all the stuff that went south on there because we didn't tell them. We just told the client that they hired, or the other organization. So it leads back into where we had that customer that basically told us we did something wrong, and something was there, and that the customer was unhappy, and so we wanted to make it right. And this was we thought it was a good customer and a good person that was an affiliate, and we jumped through all these hoops. And when we did all the backstory and checked it out, it didn't turn out to be that way whatsoever. So when we brought it to their attention, they just deflected and said, well, you shouldn't have done it then if you didn't do anything wrong. But in our thing is like, hey, we wanted to fix it immediately. We wanted to take care of it. And just like the airlines. And
that particular situation, though, time was of the essence because this was all happening. Like, we didn't have time to iron out who did what. We needed to handle it in the moment, and we made a call based on our reputation and our character.
Yes. And
we believed that their reputation in the industry, because everybody seemed to work with them, that would ring true, and that was like we were safe in that. And they showed us differently when stuff went sideways.
Yep. And we've had other people that have been the same way. I mean, like we've had airlines that have called us and say, hey, we didn't have this set up and we didn't have a pickup, and then we look and there's no paper trail, but we just sent a vehicle no matter what, because no matter what, that airline flight attendant had to be picked up from the curb, and it was cold outside, so we just sent it no matter what. And they're like, hey, we got no email, we got no reservation, nothing for this. And it's like, okay, we'll send it to you right now. But again, like their assumption was that we missed the pickup. And so when we dig through deeper, we just send somebody. I mean, and then we figured out that we didn't miss a pickup because we never had any information for it because they were a D and they got thrown on at the last minute. Yeah. So, I mean, again, one of the things I think you look at is like, what's your legacy and what's built intentionally and not accidentally. We would take it upon our partners to think that they were telling us some information, and we something happened, and we just wanted to do the right thing because that was eventually that person would get picked up regardless. So arguing with them about who got them, who didn't, or what the paperwork came in was irrelevant. We just needed paperwork for it. That's it. So I mean, again,
back up our billing later.
Yeah, we got to make sure that there was a paper trail for a pickup because there's a lot of there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of
information lost in translation.
100%. That's exactly what I was trying to say. And I think that everybody had the intention of doing it, but it never got done. And so we just have to have backup paperwork for it. So,
and I think we're talking about legacy is more just about, isn't just about what people think of you when you die, but or when you're out of the industry or when you're no longer participating in whatever realm you're in. It's about reputation. It is about character and how you're living now and making the decisions on what you stand for over time. And I don't think you can ever start too early with coming to some clarity around that. So it's like really what I'm curious is if you've heard everything that we've talked about in this session and you're like, what do I do with this information? It's making a decision. What do you stand for, and therefore, or what is it that you want to stand for? Sometimes this is all a new idea, and it's like, whoa, I see now how my actions today are connecting to this like further impact idea. So it's start to get some clarity around what it is that you want to be, what is your impact that you want to make on the world? Even if the world means that it's your nucleus family, or your hobby group, or your pod at work, because you're making an impact. It just may not be the impact that you thought you were making or that you actually want to make when you think about it.
Yeah. I always look at one of the positive things. DDK told me this. DD, she's like, Charlie, one of the reasons that a lot of people like your cars are always clean and your drivers are always in uniform. And that is important for a lot of people because when you work in a hotel industry or you work in an industry that uniform is very key, like when you go to a nice restaurant and somebody's uniform's gig tight, it's not wrinkled, it doesn't look like they just pulled out their dryer.
It's a projection that you're organized.
And the projection is the food, the quality of the service you're going to get. Is this my first initial looking at this person? Am I going to get all these things because they couldn't even get their laundry down pat? So how does that look? So I think your lasting impressions are your first impression too. And so when people are doing it, kind, generous, nice, to the point, getting people where they need to go. Find out if this person's a talker or not a talker. If they, in our industry, we don't talk to the customers unless they talk to us. So we greet them, we talk to them. But when they start asking you questions and doing stuff, that opens up a door for you to help and do that. But if they're quiet and they're not want to talk and you've asked them all the appropriate questions, don't be that person that's going to be blabbing in their ear and doing that stuff because it's not what they paid for. And I look at that as like when we go get massages. Like I don't like a lot of people talking to me during the massage. I just want to relax and put my head down. If I want to watch media or if I just want to get a nap, I don't want to do that. But I don't want somebody asking me a million questions because it might feel good, but it's going to take away from my experience.
Yes.
And how are we going to give that to our experience? So some of the stuff I want to give out to the people is, and what my legacy is, like show up on time, do your job, have a good rapport with your customers. People should know us that if they're calling us, we're going to show up and we don't have to worry about it. They're not calling us 15 minutes before and saying, hey, your car's not here because we're not scheduled 15 minutes
Don't
until then.
create drama. Just take care of what you say you're going to do.
100%. And I think a lot of people will count on us and know about us because we try to do the right thing and we try to make it right for everybody. So I think our legacy, part of our legacy is already there. They know as us. If we decide to sell one time or give it to our grandkids or give it to our kids, we're going to hope that they're going to pass on that legacy and that same thing that we're doing, because that's what the company's culture is. That's what we're looking at as a culture fact and what we're going to leave with them. But if we end up selling it to another, I say native corporation, or to another person that's in our industry, we're going to hope that they're going to have the same guidelines that we are, that we're going to do it. But it's kind of like the Chevy dealership selling a car. Like when they sell that truck, it's off their floor, and they're going to hope that it stays up and runs good, and you have the warranties, you're going to be able to take care of it. But it's their baby now. It's your truck. You know,
Yeah.
you get to do what you want to. What do we leave when we left it in 2030 if we sold it, or whatever else it was? What was it that we left, and how did we leave it? And how did we leave the company and the people that bought it or took it over? Or if it turns out to be an employee-owned company, you know, are they going to have the same standards that we're going to be having? So we're hoping that it lives on for a long, long time, and it goes on for a long time, because when you see some of the things that have evolved from here, I mean, we went from not owning a shop to not having a place to rent, and then we had a place that was renting to us, and then we were forced to move. It was probably one of the best things that ever happened. I mean, even though that we had a great lot over there and we had everything over there, now we're into our own building, our own area, and it's not as much chaos.
No, it's a campus.
Yeah.
Of different things.
So it's always interesting how things start and how they end up.
Yeah, and I think you can have a level of intentionality even with that, not having a crystal ball and seeing the future, but consistently showing up in that like raise up mentality. It builds reputation over time. It builds your character, because you are surprised at the challenges that come forward that remind you that, hey, I agreed this is how I was going to be, or this is an agreement with myself. I feel like I get reminders of those self-agreements all the time, because they show up in the face of like adversity, or something that I didn't expect to be having a conversation with this individual today, and embrace it. So
yeah, good things. I mean, talk about your legacy, and then talk about what you're doing in life to leave it for the next person. I think you just have to be a good person, and you have to really have intentionality about working with people and having the patience to work with people. And it's not every day you have the patience, but you sometimes give them a little more patience than you normally would. You know, it's definitely it's a balancing act. It really is. And you know, one of the things I talked to Athena about is talking about this today is like, what is our legacy? You know, I look at, I guess I've really never looked at what my legacy looks like when I'm going to leave, or I leave this earth, or I leave the company, or the company sells.
You're having too much fun, I think.
I would say fun. I'm ready for the next chapter. I'm ready to see what the next chapter looks like. I'm ready to either have these people lead it, or resell it, or do something else. You know, it's just because 26 years doing the same thing, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Yes, I love the culture and the job that we have, and the different experiences we get put into. But again, you're looking at towards your, what is, I don't want to work the last day I died. I don't want to work up to that point. I want to go out and have some fun and do some things and see the world and do some other things. And this has definitely given us an avenue to do that, and I appreciate that. And the legacy, I think it is what I learned from the company, and what the company taught me also. Because as the company grows, it's just not us guiding it, it guides us also. I always think it's a river of less resistance. It looks for a path to go down, and we look for that path too, as less resistance, and how are we going to make that forge through the bed.
How can we be in cooperation where there is less resistance?
Yes.
in both sides? Yes.
Yes. And that's a very tough thing to do, because all of us just want to plow right through it. You know, we want to make our own line, and sometimes it's just easier to have it make the line for you.
Well, and when I look at resistance is if it's something that I feel strongly about, and I'm getting resistance with others that I'm cooperating with, or I'm in cooperation with, it's like I prefer to be in agreement. And so then if I look at that as one of my higher principles, then what is it that I need to do here? And sometimes it's how can I say yes? Like how can I say yes to that customer? Because that's going to bring us into a better agreement. And it's not actually like I don't need to die on that mountain. And I think that some people get confused about what's a molehill and what's a mountain, and do I even need to be right in this situation, or can I just be in agreement in this moment and less division?
Yeah. Well, I think that you guys got the gist of that. If you have any questions or you have anything you want to ask us that we can help you with, you're more than welcome to reach out to us.
Find us on raiseupmindset.com. We have a place there where you can submit questions. Also, you can DM us at anywhere you get social media. And we just appreciate you checking in with us. And of course, you can like or follow us. We'd love that too.
Or share our stuff too.
Or share, yeah, absolutely. And so
we don't have any degrees in any of this. We don't have any. We're just giving off some knowledge that we have learned over the last 26 years with BAC, and not counting the 15 years we had with C&G or the other companies that we've owned and done stuff. This is all just information that we've kind of gathered throughout our years and how we can do it. And if you're a newer company, man, take all these podcasts in, look at some people that are positive and have some good advice for you. There is no reason that you have to reinvent your wheel all the time when there's people who have already done it. And there's some people that have helped us substantially going through some rougher times and some other things that we've looked through that we just thought, there was not a lot of hope through things, and they've shown us some light. And that's all we're doing for you guys too. This is all what this is about.
Yes, this is part of our legacy.
We're not becoming billionaires off this unless you guys all want to just put in so much money per month, and we're all good.
Yes, so thanks for visiting us.
We look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.